just I don't know. It's just every day is a new challenge, and certainly the priorities definitely shifted in the off season, and um, just doing non-racing stuff, and so yeah, I had I think a day at the race shop this since Phoenix, and so um, just I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna, like I said, it's just gonna take a little while to kind of get back in the swing of things. Um, but the cars were, I've been doing my work for the last 20 something years, and so I think that this is a good kind of warm up weekend to that. Um, just it certainly has not been an easy off season by any means, and um, it's I'm sure that I'm probably in a different headspace than most of the competitors that have been rip roaring ready to go racing for the last month or so. I'm probably in a different spot than that. I would certainly appreciate a few more months, but I don't have that. But we'll just kind of see how it goes. And so got some unfortunate news that I re-tore my shoulder that I had from 2024. So I'm gonna have to go the rest of the season the way I was before there. I don't think that it ever healed properly. Just noticed some issues. Really, kind of right after the season, it just was nagging me a little bit. Took a little fall at my mom's house, going through all the rubble and stuff, and just didn't feel right. Got it rescanned, and they said it, was, retore again. Yeah, I mean, I could. The option was just do it now and miss the first 3-4 months, or just tough it out and do it first day of the off season. And that's what I'll do.
Go to Bob.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. Can you give us any update on how your mom is doing?
She's getting better, and she's actually down in Florida with some family this week. So she's definitely getting better, physically, and mentally certainly will take some time. But it feels like she's getting in a better place.
Go to Peter.
Right here, Denny. Peter Strada, TSJ Sports. Dale Jr., Mark Martin, and plenty others said you played a role in the chase coming back and those discussions. Do you feel like your voice was heard, and are you satisfied with the changes?
Yeah, I am. I certainly think that it seemed like the bulk of the off season was, from my standpoint, NASCAR kind of undoing some of the direction that they had been led over the last decade or so, which is all good things, and certainly feel as though the chase is a very, very good compromise to all the stakeholders, and I certainly feel like, if anything, it's certainly a benefit to your top competitors that are challengers week in, week out. I think it will reward them through the regular season. It's going to reward them in the playoffs with a little bit of a head start. Certainly more of a head start than what the chase competitors had back then. So while it is the old chase, you actually have more motivation to perform well during the regular season because of the gap that it will give you to start that 10 races, a little more than the previous. So I do feel like it's a really good balance of everything. I think without a doubt there'll be no questioning of the validity when it comes down to the end, and we see who's first. I don't think it necessarily comes down to, while it can come down to one last restart at the end of Homestead, it's still going to be a body of work that you put in for the first 9.5 races up to that point. So I don't think any one restart will define it, even though it might change who the champion might be. It's still going to be the 2 or 3 most deserving guys when it comes down to that final race. So I certainly was happy to see where it ended up, and definitely in full support of it.
Go ahead.
Tim Moore, Motorsports Today. Denny, last year in Riley Herbst's rookie campaign, it was a little bit tough. Just, I'm wondering from your perspective as an owner, what are you wanting to see from him this year to say he's taken a significant step forward in his growth?
Well, we got to see better performance for sure. I think that certainly where the 35 was running last year was just not up to what we expect, and but we have we signed a multi-year agreement with Riley because we want to see where it goes in the second year, and certainly I want to see gained in performance, needs to be challenging inside that top 10, top 15. That's where we expect our cars to run, and certainly the more experienced guys in Tyler and Bubba, they need to be competing for race wins more often as well.
Go to Alan here, then Deb, and I think we have one in the middle as well.
Alan Cavana. On the competition side of JGR, filling the void for Chris Gabehart no longer being there. How is JGR doing that, and what is that void for you?
Yeah, it's a little different. Used to having Chris there, but we also have had the experience of Wally Brown that's been in that role as competition director for many of the heyday years of JGR and their performance. I think he can step in there and do the role. He never left, so which is he was always in those competition meetings, so he can just kind of pick up that quarterback role. I think that he got to observe some things that Chris Gabehart did last year that he can refine, and even he admittedly said that I think that was a good direction. I can pick that up from where he left. So I'm confident that JGR can they have so much depth within their race team, then they can find a way to make it work.
Go to Deb.
Deb Williams, Auto Week.
Congratulations, Deb.
Thank you, Denny. I appreciate that. To go back kind of to the chase element here, Charlotte Motor Speedway announced they're getting rid of the Roval and going back to the Oval for that. How do you feel now about that change and the fact there won't be a road course in the chase now?
I mean, I don't think there'll be any secret. It's all positive for me on these types of changes. Bigger sample size, less road courses. Given my history, those are all positive for me. But beyond myself, we need to talk about the sport, and the sport is that oval racing is, and the next gen car, especially mile and a half, has been its strength. I was part of that battle with Chastain and Byron in the 600, and just a fantastic race. Nobody could hold the lead. You get out in the lead and your car was just handled terribly. You get out second and it was actually better. And so it's just that racetrack is too good of a racetrack to not have. If you have any track that's going to have multiple races at the same venue, same track, Charlotte would be one that you would think would be at the top of that list. And so good to see that come back. And I think that certainly it's going to be on the fans to make sure you show up and support that. I think the drivers, for the most part, are certainly supportive of that change back to the oval. It's what we are. We're oval racing. We have been. And while I definitely appreciate the changes that we made over the last few years in the road courses and going to different venues like Charlotte or the Chicago Street Race, which I thought was a positive for the sport. We look like we're heading back to more of our roots, which is, I think, a good thing.
Do we have something in the middle? Yep, we'll go right here. We'll go to Matt, then Kelly.
Over here, Denny. Christian Gladney with ABC 45. We're finally being able to get to the Clash after all these snow delays. The history that's at this track, some of the greatest drivers that have driven in this sport, being able to be here. Can you talk about the importance of having the Clash here at Bowman Gray in the NASCAR schedule for the sport?
Yeah, I think why I can just tell you why it's good for the teams. One, it's a good warm up for them to get their race weekend type of routine going. It's close to home, so there's not a big haul travel-wise for the race teams. For the drivers, I mean, certainly like myself, I don't know that I'd love to barrel it off at Kansas right now into turn one for the first laps of a new season. So short track is good for the drivers. Is a good warm up. But obviously, it's this is a racetrack that is embedded in the NASCAR roots, and certainly feel like that the move here. While we were doing the short track thing in LA, and I thought that was a very good event, it's more feasible and more economically viable for the teams to be here close to home on a very similar racetrack. And then you're also kind of giving back to the short track community up here in Winston.
Go to Matt.
Matt Weaver, motorsport.com. So much of your success has been credited by your peers, to your preparation, your physical fitness. Given everything that's happened, have you been able to start locking in yet? What is that timeline going to be like for you to do sim, be able to hit the gym, dealing with the shoulder? How much of that is going to be an inhibitor early this year?
I mean, TBD. I wish I could predict the future and tell you, but I just don't know. I mean, I certainly give my team the preparation that they deserve as the leader of the team. So there's no way that I could actually show up this weekend and face my team and not be prepared. So I've done as much as I feel like I can to be prepared, given the amount of time that I've got and given the all the stuff that I have going on. But they know they'll once I get in that car, they never have questioned whether I'm capable of going out there and competing and giving them their best opportunity to win, because that's ultimately my job, is to get the result that team that's been preparing all during the off season while I've been doing other things, is give them a shot to reap the benefits and the rewards of their hard work.
Go back to Jordan and then Kelly.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. There's been a leadership change atop NASCAR. Steve Phelps is obviously no longer here. OD's kind of moved into the more of a prominent role. How do you feel about that and the direction the sport is now heading with OD kind of as the only Steve?
Yeah, I don't know too much of the ins and outs of it as far as how does the role change for O'Donnell versus what it was before. We've only had one team owner council meeting. I overall left there feeling that the direction and the vision that they've got for this upcoming season is good. I certainly am a believer in the direction that they're going. Ultimately, the results will be seen in our TV audience and our people in the stands, and whether they it resonates with them or not. But overall, I feel as though the sport has got a good reset point at the end of last year, and then just now we're going into this year. The team owners are in certainly a better position for the long term than what they've ever been before. So now it's just up for, can we get the sport back into prominent relevance in the sports market, and I think that's their focus as well.
Kelly.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Denny, I want to follow up with a few things that you just said there. Since Jordan asked about OD, you said about the sport resetting, you like the direction. A comment O'Donnell had made to me during the Chase announcement was that his focus and NASCAR's focus is working on the relationships in the garage, getting those back with the industry. So with everything you just said about how you feel things are, can the narrative, or I guess if you want to use the word relationship between the industry and NASCAR, can we see maybe that's going to change now a little bit after the last couple of years where it felt like there was two different camps here, right? The team owners were unhappy, the drivers didn't like the playoff format and all of this. So do you think maybe we'll have a little bit of a different narrative now around this sport this year? Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's the goal, and hopefully we all use it as a reset, right? And certainly we need to think of the sport holistically when we're trying to figure out how to make it better, or maybe we're criticizing this or that. It's holistically, are we heading in the right direction? One moment might not be exactly the way we all want it, but is it generally heading that right way? And so I think that's the way that we need to look at it. Like I said, I've looked at kind of the
inner strategy of NASCAR and what they put out to us of here's our strategy to get back to where we were, and I think it's the right strategy. And so, again, this is not going to be something that we're going to see right away. It's something that could take time within the garage. The proof will be in the pudding, right? Is that being more collaborative is something that the sport and the teams have said they wanted to do for the last decade. And while it is more collaborative, or it was more collaborative than what it was probably in the 1990s, it still is nowhere nearly collaborative is what other sports are. When I talk to Curtis Polk and many others that have been in other sports, and even other owners that have had interest in other sports, their ownership meetings are totally different. They're all figuring out, hey, how are we going to create more revenue? Here's what we're thinking about doing. Where we're just so cutthroat on what's best for our team, and this team doesn't like this splitter, or this team doesn't like this transact. It's all just dumb stuff that gets talked about that doesn't push the sport forward. We have to talk about things that are going to grow the sport collectively, and everyone has to get on that same page. And hopefully, that starts January 1 of this past year.
We've got time for one more, and we'll wrap up with Bob.
First off, I just want to check, when you talk about your shoulder before, in the past, you had trouble like kind of lifting it full. So do you have that trouble right now, or is it about where it was?
I don't right now. I don't right now. If you could look into a crystal ball, I would think, as the year goes on, it just kind of depends on certainly making sure I'm doing the things out of the car, keeping the range good, keeping the strength good to kind of get to that November date where I can work on it and get it fixed again. Limiting, honestly, the things I love to do. I'm going to have to just, that's not going to be a priority during the season, unfortunately. So I'm just, just going to miss out on a lot of the fun things. But I can't do some of the things I like to do simply because that aggravates it, and it certainly causes the tear to get worse. And it's kind of hanging on. It's torn, but it's still got a little few parts and pieces hanging on to that I need to keep intact for the full year.
And kind of from the last race last year to now, has your perspective on life changed, and if at all, how?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it certainly is different, and I think that the easy thing to say is, poor me, but it's like I still have a fantastic life, a great family. A lot of people go through tragedies. I mean, I can't tell you, while what happened with my family in the off season was highly publicized. There's probably tons of those stories of crew members that happen in their family this off season, that happens to them during the season that no one really knows about. So everyone kind of has their times where they have to go through tough moments, and I think that those are really kind of building moments of your character. It's how you respond to it. I think certainly that this season for me could certainly go one of two ways, and I think there's not much of a middle road. It's going to go really one way or really the other way, and it's up to me which way I decide to turn. And so I think that right now my focus is keeping this thing on the right track and making sure I spend these last couple of years accomplishing everything that I want to before my career is over.
Well, thank you, Denny. Appreciate the time, and good luck today.